Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Next, we will talk about user-centered versus manufacturer-centric innovation. This work builds on the work by Professor Hippel in his book Democratizing Innovation, which is published by MIT Press in April 2005. He has pointed out that the users that innovate can indeed develop exactly what they want, instead of relying on a manufacturer. So they have created a distinction between a user-centric and a manufacturer-centric innovation. Users can be either the firms or the individual consumer which are expecting to benefit from the using a particular product or a service. Whereas manufacturer essentially expect to benefit from selling a particular product or a service. The manufacturer might be using different types of intellectual property rights like patents, copyright, and other protection to prevent the imitators from free riding on their investments. In this traditional model, the user's role is only to have needs, whereas manufacturer identify the needs, fill in the gap, bring in the new design, and produce the novel products. The functional source of innovation in that case depend upon the functional relationship between the innovator and the innovation. The innovation is a user innovation when the developer expects to benefit from it, whereas if an innovation is expected to benefit the manufacturer because who is likely to benefit from selling it. So once again, there is a distinction between the innovation, whether it is coming from a user-centric or a manufacturing-centric approach. Clearly, manufacturer's focus is selling the particular product and user-centric is to be able to use it. The user and manufacturer categorization and this relationship between innovator and innovation can be extended to the special function, attribute, products or the features itself. Say for example, we have electric light switch. There are certain set of users which are the householders who have put those switches in their house and they are daily using them. Whereas on the other hand there is an electrician who is also a kind of a user. What if an electrician come up with a model which is very different from the existing way of switching on and off the lights? Clearly, given the experience the electrician has with switchboard, there is a lot more potential that they will be able to come up with those designs. What we have found that many a times this kind of a user's innovation is indeed being neglected in the public statistics as well as in the innovation surveys. Producers' innovations are very well advertised and they are not motivated to give the credits to the user. Even if the idea must have come from the feedback they would have received from the consumer, it is very unlikely that producers will give credit to the user. Recently, we have seen that the drivers which has facilitated the user-centric innovation have indeed grown. Some of these include internet and social media networks, facilitator and main sources of user-driven innovation like Linux, Firefox and digital products which are based on user-generated content. These are some of the examples which come from Professor Hippel's book and they highlight that there is indeed a high percentage of developing and building products for their own use. These include printed circuits CAD software, library information systems, surgical equipment, Apache OS servers, software security features, consumer goods, extreme sporting equipment, and also like a mountain biking equipment. The two examples which come from his book are that of mountain bike innovation and development of instant messaging at MIT. Here, he has pointed out that learning by doing can be incredibly cheap for user within their own narrow niche of doing. For instance, think from a point of view of a person who is now using a mountain bike. And they realize that whenever they are doing the trick and they take off their feet off the bike pedal in the mid-air, the pedals often spin. As a result, when they put up their feet back, it is becoming increasingly difficult for them. So, as a challenge that they face, what they did is in fact added a foam ring around the pedal axle near the crank. This has added friction and now prevent the pedals from free spinning whenever the feet are off. Clearly, that kind of a solution has also potential to be mass produced, be incorporated in the original design. But where does it come from? It comes from the very specific need of the person who is using the mountain bike and find it difficult to put his feet back because the pedal is spinning. Another example which comes from his book is about the development of the instant messaging at MIT. He has pointed out that in 1987, MIT Lab for Computer Science has thousands of Athena workstations online, and they had difficulties diffusing system administrator information rapidly. On-site programs programmed Zephyr, which is an instant messaging system. Very quickly, it was being used by the students for instant messaging as well. It is very interesting to note that if you go back to our discussion on innovation in this history of economic thought, a similar kind of a similar point has also been raised by Adam Smith, who has pointed out that in the division of the labor, when certain person becomes extremely efficient at particular task, there is a possibility that he or she will indeed come up with a better way of doing it. The example that he has given is also about the boy who has to now close the lid whenever there is a requirement, and ultimately ended up using a string and resolved his problem so that he can just go out and play with his friends. In that context, Professor Hippel has pointed out that who will do this innovation? He has characterized lead users as a member of a user population with distinct characteristics who are involved in this kind of a user-centric innovation. They are at who are these lead users? These lead users are essentially somebody who are at the leading edge of an important market trend. Not only that, they can actually experience that there are certain problems, and in fact these problems are also going to be further realized by the other users also. This functional fixedness, those who use the object or see it being used in a familiar way find it difficult to conceive novel ways to use it. They in fact anticipate that relatively high benefit from obtaining a solution to their needs, and so they may innovate. In fact, if you think from the point of view of a manufacturer, there is a stickiness of the preferences. It will be very difficult from manufacturer to either to realize the problem or to even come up with the solution. Coming up with the solution instead can also be very high. Moreover, it also indicates a benefit and innovation likelihood. So then a question arises why the user, or particularly the lead user, will actually go ahead and innovate. That can be done either for the reputational gain or also for the high diffusion. There is also a possibility that the manufacturer may indeed adopt the innovation in order and will reduce the cost. There can be private benefit from fun and learning and the communities which have the norm of sharing. So far, the user about whom we have been talking about was effectively a consumer. Now think from a point of view of a company which is also a user because they are buying maybe an intermediate good from another supplier. Such kind of a firm may have some specific requirement. They can either introduce that specific requirement on their own, or they might ask the manufacturer or an outsider to do it for them. They have to take in account the transaction cost involved in from outsourcing vis-a-vis of what they will be able to do on their own. Agency costs in this case are going to be very high. What would be the agency cost? First of all, they would have to find a manufacturer who would be ready to do what they are going to do. If not so, they might have to hire somebody who would be ready to do the innovation or engage with the research and development. They have to not only hire the person, they have to ensure that the person works toward it and reduce the cost engaged in shirking the work. As a result, because of the engagement of high transaction cost, it might be beneficial for the company to in fact go ahead and innovate on their own. As a result, you will find that if there are certain specific requirements which might be the need of for the suppliers, they would rather do that on their own instead of asking the manufacturer or engaging with the external teams.